Well, I reckon you didn't do it then.
The Walking Dead by Telltale Games outlines what a best-case scenario would look like if a beloved series were to be converted from one entertainment medium to another. Already being a fan of the show, I went into this having some idea of what to expect, but not anticipating how it would make me feel when it was all over. In this carefully crafted point-and-click adventure, you play as Lee Everett, a man convicted for the murder of a state senator, who's being ferried by police escort until...
This other time...
In a matter of seconds, you're cast off from civilization into the harsh, unforgiving world of the Walking Dead with nothing more than an injured leg and a pair of handcuffs. It's moments like these that encapsulate the essence of what makes Telltale so great at what they do.
How you doing, Duck?
Good. I'm gonna drive the tractor. I'm the foreman. Lift with your back, Sean.
Akin to the source material, here is used to establish commonality between the main character and the audience, thereby hooking you into the action and never letting you go. That means more time can be spent bonding with Lee, while still explaining why you should care about him. That's when Telltale asks the question, how can we make that bond even stronger? And the answer lies in a little girl you meet named Clementine.
Can you see me? I can see you through the window.
All alone, missing her parents, and in danger of being swept up by the zombie outbreak, she decides to join up with Lee, effectively becoming his adopted daughter, not to mention his moral compass. This marks the beginning of your journey together in search of survivors and the whereabouts of Clem's missing parents.
That sounds good.
As point-and-click adventures go, controlling Lee is easy with the left stick, while using the right to adjust the pointer to whatever you'd prefer to investigate. Free roaming became more involved this way, as new environments, both big and small, each had a story to tell and could be explored at your own pace. Scrolling over items and pressing the triangle button allows Lee to explain what objects are and add context to them. It's also a great way of learning what Lee is thinking at any given moment.
Guess someone needed some first aid recently. Musty as hell. Ugh, what is this stuff?
Your adventure will take you to many different locations, including an old abandoned pharmacy and a motel where you'll get to meet the other survivors of the outbreak. Together, you'll come face to face with what The Walking Dead calls walkers, a parallel term for the word zombies. In order to survive, you'll have to execute a series of quick-time events ranging from hand-to-hand and first-person shooting to make your way past them before time runs out. A lot of what goes into making combat work in this game is scripted in nature, but nevertheless culminates in nail-biting moments, especially when someone you care about is in danger of being eaten.
Rat.
What I really enjoyed most about the gameplay is how often I felt like I was in the center of the action. Speaking with other survivors, therein lied very brief periods in which I would be given a set of up to 4 choices in which to steer the topic of conversation. Choices were abundant and lent a sense of presence throughout the narrative. I really felt like I was getting to know Lee Everett better every time he said the right thing or intervened in a fight. In this post-apocalyptic world, choices are your currency to buy goodwill among others. The more you choose to trust someone, the more he or she will remember you when the time comes to return the favor. It's usually when times were desperate that I was confronted with the tougher choices, as other survivors would begin to question my resolve, make demands, and even issue threats if they didn't like the way things were playing out.
He's been through so much.
When food shortages rolled around, I never felt more conflicted, knowing I'd have to decide who got to eat and who didn't. Sooner or later, tensions mounted, and I often found myself in a tug of war between sides, just to settle on a split decision amongst the group.
Kenny's right. Yeah, you're in charge of the food and the schedules, but you're not in charge of people's lives.
This attention to player agency was so convincing to me. Regularly, I felt compelled to replay moments over and over again, just to settle on what was best for my playthrough.
I'm good.
As Telltale games go, graphics and sound design are not necessarily the main draws in this title.
Kenny, keep those walkers off of me.
Oftentimes, I found some sound sources, like gunfire, lacked variety and were almost indistinguishable from one another, which only dampened the more climactic set-piece moments established later in the game. Another issue I came across was the way characters would abruptly transition between facial expressions, which just made me laugh, even if that wasn't the intention. It should be noted that if you're playing on the PS5, I also experienced artifacting that may or may not be attributed to emulation, so I recommend playing on the native hardware this game was designed for.
I'll see what the girl would like.
Ah, gotta consult the missus. I understand.
It's not to say these elements are game-breaking in any way, rather the opposite actually. I found they added to the charm of the whole package.
Thank you.
The art style Telltale chose to implement here might look familiar to you because it bears all the hallmarks of a graphic novel. Colors and themes will go pastels in favor of earth tones that emanate in the dirt and blood on clothes, autumn leaves in the trees, or the rust on an abandoned car. Thanks to cell shading, lines accentuate textures like ink on a flat page of a comic book, making it feel more authentic. Framing these elements in a TV show format, complete with teasers and recaps of each episode, was just the icing on the cake.
Previously on The Walking Dead.
I know who you are.
This leads me to my final point. What about the characters themselves? Well, I'm happy to say Telltale knocked it out of the park by giving each survivor someone to care about. The more I got to know them, the more they grew on me, which motivated me to make better decisions for the good of the group. The way Kenny would do anything for his family bears a strong resemblance to Lee after he met Clementine. Seeing the way Carly would harbor a secret affection for her coworker shows how much is at stake if they ever make it out alive.
Have an apple, Carly.
Even the friction between Larry and the rest of the group helped establish Lee as the voice of reason, despite his otherwise questionable past.
Lee!
Yeah?
No doubt, Lee's greatest strength was his ability to inspire hope in others he never met before, which says a lot about his role in Clementine's life. Each episode in the season spans approximately 2 hours in length, and throughout my 12 to 15 hours across 5 episodes I spent playing, the times I remember most were when Lee got to be a dad. Clem isn't some bratty dumb kid. She knows when things are bad and might even ask why they are this way, to which Lee will have to respond.
If he doesn't get better and, he might try to hurt me. Can't I come with you?
That being said, she's still able to express herself like any kid would, which makes for some funny dialogue.
It's gross.
Did you lick it?
I don't know.
Seeing her coloring and pushing her on the swing made me feel like she wasn't afraid, even if deep down that wasn't true. She always hoped she'd find her parents again and wears a baseball hat her real father gave her to cherish their memory.
I thought you were gone.
Thank you.
Watching it all come together in the last episode made me happy to see that what Clem was really looking for was a family, and it was never too far away. For returning fans and new fans alike, I encourage you to check out the unforgettable adventure of Telltale's The Walking Dead. If you want more, don't forget to watch the hit TV series or the equally spectacular comic book series and see why The Walking Dead is a national phenomenon that's taken the world by storm.